Hi, my name is Robert. This video is designed to give you step-by-step detailed instructions on completing the task at hand. Please read the comments in the About section of this video. It has valuable information and updates. My YouTube channel has a disclaimer video that I encourage you to watch. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you found what you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. In this video, I'm going to explain to you how to determine whether or not the starter is bad on the vehicle that you're trying to start. Got a call from my sister a few days ago. She said that her car was having starting issues. She thought her battery was draining down because the car was cranking a lot slower than normal. As a starter motor wears out, it will crank slower as the motor starts to die. You have two issues that you normally deal with starters. One is the motor actually dies, and the other is the solenoid actually gives out. When you turn the key to start the car, you'll hear a click if the starter is bad. The click is the solenoid engaging, which gives power to the starter for the starter to start. Turn it. If the solenoid is bad, you'll never hear a click or you'll never hear the starter. If the starter doesn't turn but you hear the click, the motor is probably stuck, locked up, or has gone out in the starter. Now when you're trying to start the car, you have several things that could cause it not to start, but the key to troubleshooting is determine whether or not the car is cranking or not. Cranking simply means that the motor is turning over, the starter is engaged, and that part is working, but the car is not running when you let the key go. It just immediately dies back out. That means the car is cranking but not running. If you turn the key and nothing happens, or you hear rapid clicking, chances are you have a weak or dead battery. If you turn the key and you hear one click and nothing happens, more than likely you have a starter issue. If you have determined and verified that the battery is strong enough to start the car. Now if you have a starter that's going out in the car, it normally gives you a warning. It'll crank sometimes it won't, and the cranking, no cranking problem, and it'll happen more frequently, So you go to start the car, nothing happens. You turn the key off, you try it again, that'll happen more and more as the starter motor goes bad. Now these motors sometimes get a dead spot, and when you turn the key, if it's at the dead spot, it won't get going even though the solenoid engaged. Sometimes tapping on the starter can help them crank the motor again and get you on your way. Now, although the starter is a critical part of starting the car and getting you on your way, it's not a sensitive part of the vehicle like an alternator is, or fuel pump is, or some other electronic component. So I do not have a problem with installing aftermarket starters as I would an alternator or something like that. So a couple days ago, I came and checked the car. I told my sister her starter was going out. I recommended that she get AAA in case it locked up on her somewhere and she couldn't get it started. I showed her where the starter was, and like the very next day, she got stuck at work and the car would not start. So she called me. I went to go get her. I opened the hood. I had her turn the key, and I tapped on the starter with a metal object, and that got the starter going where she started the car. And as you can now see, she got the car home and in her garage. So this is the normal view of the motor. It's got these couple of plastic covers on them. And if you look down past the intake manifold, the starter is down there. It has a 4.3 number on it. So if you ever are turning your key, you hear a click, but you don't hear the car crank, you can have somebody hold the key. And I took this tool that's from the jack, I stuck it down through there, and I tapped on the starter a couple times, like that while she turned the key and it fired right up. That may get you home. It's a temporary fix. Work on getting your starter replaced. Now, a starter is one of the most powerful things on your motor. Those things provide a lot of torque. They're very powerful motors. I don't recommend you try to hold them in your hand and test them, because they can jump out of your hand and fall down and hurt somebody or hurt yourself. So take them to somewhere and have them bench tested if you want to get them tested. But an intermittent starter may start 8 times and not start the 9th, or it may start 4 times and not start the 5th. So starters, when they go out, they're intermittent. I'm going to go ahead and see if this car will start and turn it around so that I can go ahead and replace the starter. Now, the other issue that people have with starters is if the solenoid goes out. So the starter has a solenoid and the starter has a motor. If the solenoid goes out, you won't even hear a click when you start the car or try to start the car. Just nothing will happen. If your battery power is good and your cables are good and you don't hear that click, either you got a bad ignition switch or the solenoid on the starter, more than likely that solenoid on the starter. And that's part of the starter. And what some people do is they actually jump electrical connectors on the starter to get the starter going. That's probably impossible on this vehicle, since it's almost impossible to reach the starter, but that is an option that some people do when trying to get a starter going with the a no start condition. Personally, I've never got one going like that. I'm a guy that don't want to get electrocuted. So what I normally do is I'll tap on the starter. If I can't get it started that way, we need to call a tow truck, you know. So let me see if the car will start and get it turned around. Again, this car was experiencing slower cranking and intermittent cranking. I think the solenoid is good and the motor's going bad. It may or may not start, but if it doesn't start, you'll probably hear a click when I turn the key. So I'm going to try to be quiet, see if you can hear the click, and go from there if it doesn't start. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn the key. Either the car is going to start or you're going to hear the click. Okay, it worked that time, so you didn't get to hear the click, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it around because it's intermittent. Here you can see the teeth of the starter that engages. The solenoid powers the starter and sends power to this clutch thing, and this shoots out forward and it engages in the transmission flywheel and cranks the motor. That's the hole that the starter came out of, and you can see the flywheel that's mounted on the back of the motor hooked up to the torque converter that the starter turns and makes the motor start its rotation to start. If you feel that this information was beneficial, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can also subscribe to my channel so that you can get notification of future videos that I post. Visit my channel. I have all types of do-it-yourself videos there. You can leave questions here and I'll try to respond to them as quick as possible. You can also visit my website at robertspinner.com. Thanks again for watching.